And you said that maybe a couple weeks before November 2nd, all of a sudden it took a turn? Okay, tell me about that, if you will.
Well, it was just like any other day. I was eating lunch in the cafeteria with John and Chaden and a few other people that we sit with. And when I got up to bust my lunch trays, he kind of pulled me aside and said, "Would you help me if I killed Miss Graber?"
Hello all you couch detectives out there, my name is Lee. Thank you for being here. For everything Couch Detectives, check us out on our website, couchdetectivestv.com. Follow this QR code, the link is also in the description. Also, make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube. We have a lot of content on the way. Okay, enough rambling, let's get into it. November 3rd, 2021, Fairfield, Iowa. 66-year-old Spanish teacher Nohema Graber was reported missing by family members. It was known that Ms. Graber liked to walk the path at Chautauqua Park, which was in close proximity to Fairfield High School, where she taught Spanish for the last 9 years. She was found later that day bludgeoned to death under a tarp and wheelbarrow. Away from the path, it was clear that she was murdered. Several students of the school came forward with information indicating who may have been responsible for this heinous crime. Searches of these individuals' homes were conducted and investigators found bloody clothing at both locations. 16-year-old Willard Miller and 16-year-old Jeremy Goodale. Both of them would be arrested and held on $1 million bonds for the suspected murder of Nohema Graber. Initially, Chaden Miller's attorney fought to suppress the release of his interrogation, but we were able to get it. That link is in the description below, so make sure you check it out. It's a pretty wild one. This video is Jeremy Goodale's interrogation with police regarding the death of Nohema Graber. This was conducted in February of 2023, and it was part of his plea deal. It is known as a proffer, where the defendant in the case is required to tell the full truth in what they know and their involvement for a possible lesser sentence upon them being convicted. This is the full interrogation of Jeremy Goodale. But first, let us have a moment of silence for the victim in this case.
That's what your teacher hooked you up with.
We're being recorded.
I don't think they care.
Fine.
Amigos in Fort Madison? Amigos in Fort Madison?
Yeah, from Fort Madison, so that's probably the best place to do it. Jeremy, nice to see you again, in spite of the circumstances. Did you jack up your knee?
I did.
What'd you do?
Probably a torn ACL, just playing basketball.
No kidding.
Oh, is that yours? I'm sorry.
Yeah, some tear.
Just
No, shopping.
making a sharp move, and
Yeah,
last time you do that, right?
pretty much.
Very good. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and start the audio recording, if that's okay. Nicole Jensen,
Yes,
is that correct?
that is
Okay.
correct.
All right. All right, this is Special Agent Ryan Kevley of the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation. The date is Thursday, February 23. The time is approximately 1:06 p.m. I am here at the Lee County Sheriff's Office in rural Montrose, Iowa, for the purpose of conducting a proffer interview pursuant to a proffer agreement with Jeremy Goodale, reference FECR 005144. Also present is Lieutenant Julie Kinsella of the Fairfield PD, and Goodale's representation, Alan Cook and Nicole Jensen. All right, so again, thanks for meeting with us. I'm glad that we have this chance to talk. Before we get going too far, do you recognize this right here?
That would be the proffer agreement.
Yes, and that's your signature there at the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. Just wanted to make sure that that's clear. And then just to go over a couple other things before we get going, I don't know if you remember me, but you and I had a brief conversation early on with your dad. Mm-hmm. I executed a search warrant on your person, fingernails, shoes, that sort of thing, I think it was. But didn't have a chance to sit down like we're doing today, so I'm glad we have that opportunity. I don't work for the Fairfield PD or the Jefferson County Sheriff's. I work for the state. Occasionally, state guys will get called in just to kind of help out with major felony level investigations. So that's why I'm here. And then obviously, this is Lieutenant Kinsella from the Fairfield PD. So it sounds like you've had a chance to review the proffer agreement paperwork with Alan and with Nicole? Okay,
Correct.
very good. The main objective here is just to learn as much as we can about this particular case and your knowledge of it. So at certain times, I'm certainly going to ask some questions that could be uncomfortable for you to answer. I understand that. We're also going to have some things that we don't ask that we're going to somewhat depend on you to fill in those blanks for us, because since neither Lieutenant Kinsella or myself were there, it's kind of on you to identify certain things that we may not know of that you may just need to offer up. So that's to say that I've got a lot of questions here. Lieutenant has a lot of questions, but there's going to be some questions we just don't know to ask. Is that fair? Okay, very good. Just to kind of start off with, where is so you're at the Juvenile Detention Center here in Lee County?
Correct.
Okay. And has that been primarily where you've been since you've been taken into custody?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And then do you have a cell there yourself, or how's that work?
I have my own cell. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have much interaction with other cellmates or other inmates?
Yeah.
Yeah. How, like daily?
Every day, I've got a table of people that I sit with, eat
Okay.
with, conversate with, play cards with.
Okay.
And then I interact with everyone there during school hours because we have a school system there with teachers.
Gotcha. Okay. And how's school going?
It's going pretty good.
Good. Any topics that you specifically like or dislike?
I wish I had another science class, but
Yeah. Like science?
yes.
Okay. And as of late, have you felt like you've been able to get enough sleep at night?
Well, last night in particular, no, but in general, yes.
Would you say it's because you're anxious about today, or? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. But in general, you're able to get some decent sleep?
Generally, yes.
Okay. Did you have breakfast before you came in?
I did.
Okay.
Actually, I didn't eat breakfast today. I just couldn't. I had a glass of orange juice instead.
Okay. Do you have lunch?
Yeah.
Okay. If you wind up getting hungry, since you kind of skipped breakfast, some of the people that we work with have offered up if you want to bring a pizza in or a pop or something like that. Just let us know. Like,
It's very kind.
yeah, don't be shy. If you want something, let us know. Okay. All right. Okay. And then, are you currently on any medications at all?
No.
Okay. No sleep aids, no vitamins, nothing?
Oh, I'm on, I take vitamin D and melatonin, but
Okay. Okay. And then I'm going to be referring a lot back to November of 2021, since that's what we're here to talk about. At that time, what was your home address?
306 West Hempstead.
Hempstead. And at that time, that's the address that you lived with at that, or lived at that time?
Correct.
Okay. And who did you live there with?
My sister, my nephew, and my father.
Okay. And how old was your sister?
She would have been 26.
Okay. What's her name?
Jacqueline Goodale.
Can you spell that for me?
Jaquuline.
Okay. And then what about your nephew? What's his name?
Dominic.
Okay. How old's Dominic?
Just turned 5, actually.
So he would have been 3? 4? At the time
At
of...
the time of arrest, he...
Okay.
No, he would have been 3, yeah, at the time of arrest.
Okay. Now 5. All right. And then what's your dad's name? Again, I met him and I probably have it written down somewhere, but what's your dad's name?
Dean Goodale.
Dean Goodale. Okay. Seemed like a nice person when we spoke. Okay. And then at that time, were you a sophomore in high school?
Yeah, I would have been a sophomore.
10th grade? Okay. And how had you been doing in school around that time?
Fairly well. A's and B's.
Okay. Same type of thing in terms of liking science?
Yes.
Okay. Any extracurricular activities that you were involved in?
I'd like to make a change. I'm pretty sure it was 11th grade. I don't know. It would have been 11th grade. Yes. Probably
Okay.
now. I don't
Okay.
know how I messed that up, but yeah.
So you would have graduated this coming spring?
Yes.
So last year would have been your 11th
Yes.
grade year? Okay. Okay. And I should have asked this before, but is your mom in the picture at all with you?
No.
No. Okay. And does she live away? Is she deceased? What's her status?
She lives in Colorado, and I've had no contact with her for the past several years.
Okay. To include since November, you haven't had any contact with her since then either?
No contact.
All right. Outside of school, you said that you weren't involved in any extracurricular activities. Into skateboarding, what are you into?
Yes, I skateboard. I played tennis for Fairfield High School.
Okay. What kind of music you into?
I've got a wide range, but I guess my go-to would be Rolling Stones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sympathy for the Devil, huh? Any favorite tracks of theirs?
Black's pretty good.
Mhm.
Black's pretty good.
Cool. All right. So around that time, and granted things have obviously changed in the last year and a half or so, at that time, who would you describe as some of your closest friends?
Willard Miller.
Okay. Anyone else?
Zach Ascar.
Okay.
Hoyt Wilson.
Okay.
John Burnett.
Okay.
Who else? Ellie Shepard.
Ellie, as in female?
Yeah.
Okay. What about Zoe? Zoe Fintal, were you getting close with her?
Oh, getting close, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And around that time, we were all teenagers. Once, were you using any substances, smoking weed occasionally,
Smoking
ecstasy?
weed, drinking a little.
Mhm.
I was occasionally psychedelics was the extent of my experimentation with drugs.
Okay. And what kind of psychedelics were you trying?
Mushrooms and LSD.
All right. And around when did you use those? Like junior high,
Through the-
freshman
At the
year?
beginning of my junior year.
Oh, beginning of your junior year?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else you were dating besides, again, getting to know Zoe?
No.
Okay. Okay. So you said that you were getting A's and B's. In general, school going pretty well though in terms of your classes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ever have any issues with classmates, bullying, or anything of that nature?
No.
Okay. Okay. And then did you have any, did you take any Spanish classes in high school?
I did.
Okay. And what years did you take Spanish?
Well, I took Spanish 1 at Maharishi School,
Okay.
and then I would have taken Spanish 2 with Miss Graber,
Okay. And what year did you take Spanish to?
sophomore year.
Sophomore year. So last school year, your 11th grade year, you were not in a Spanish class. Okay.
No.
How did you do in that class?
I passed. I think I passed with a C or a D. I didn't do very well.
Okay. Why didn't you do very well? Did you think that it was just because Spanish isn't your thing, or teaching style, or?
I just didn't know where to look to find the homework.
Okay.
Yeah. Didn't do any of the homework.
Okay. And when you mentioned Maharishi School, I probably should have asked, had you spent your whole life up to that point in Fairfield?
Well, I've spent my whole life in Fairfield.
Yeah, living in Fairfield is what I mean. Okay.
Mhm.
Why did you transfer from MSAE to HS.
MSAE had some wacky politics, and also it became too expensive.
What kind of wacky politics?
Mandating COVID vaccines, forcing masks, lockdowns, etc.
I see. And so, having had, and did you have Spanish too for a full school year, 2 semesters? So having had her for a full school year, what was your take on her? Like, were you indifferent? Did you not prefer her as a teacher? Prefer her as a teacher? What was your takeaway?
I mean, I liked my last Spanish teacher a little better. Mostly indifferent.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you talked about Chaden Miller being one of your close friends. I'll just refer to him as Chaden from here on out, if that's okay with you. When did you have you known Chaden your whole life? Was he always a classmate and then became closer friends? How would you describe your history with Chaden?
Well, he went to the Maharishi school with me. We transferred the same year. We didn't always get along. I think we became closer friends around my 8th grade, 7th grade year.
Okay. And what was it about Chaden that and yourself that made you 2 close friends?
He's a pretty smart guy. He shares a similar sense of humor, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And did you meet him at the Maharishi school, or had you met him prior to that, and it just so happened that you were both there?
I met him at Maharishi school.
Okay. Okay. Beyond Chaden, in terms of Zach and Hoyt, John, Ellie, Zoe, among those, was there one or 2 people that you were closer with than the others, or were they all just kind of general part of your friend group? Or
I would have been closest with Zach.
okay. And was Chaden also close with Zach?
Not particularly. They're more as acquaintances.
Okay. Okay. And then beyond Chaden and you kind of having a similar sense of humor, what kind of similar interests did you 2 have that would kind of draw you 2 to each other?
Skateboarding. We both smoked weed.
Mm-hmm.
We had similar backgrounds.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then prior to all this kind of coming about, what was ultimately your plan? It sounds like you were doing pretty well in school in terms of your classes. What were your postgraduate plans?
I was trying to look at getting a scholarship for tennis.
Okay. Looking anywhere in particular?
I was just going to see what my my coach could do for me.
Okay. What do you think you would have studied?
Now there's the question. I still was undecided.
Yeah, you don't need to declare a major today. That's okay. Okay. And then, so about how often are you and Chaden hanging out? Are you guys hanging out on a daily basis? Are you guys hanging out at school and out of school? Like in the fall of 2021, I'm just trying to get a grasp for, are you guys spending all the time together, some of the time together? How would you describe that?
Well, I would say about every other day.
Okay.
Yeah, hanging out in and out of school.
Okay. Did you guys have any classes together?
We had one class together, but that was the year before I got arrested, so no classes together.
Okay.
Not many.
And so when do you recall So I think that this happened November 2 of 2021. Do you recall when the first time, and it may have been a week, may have been a month, may have been a year, but do you recall the first time ever having a conversation with Chaden about Miss Graber? And not necessarily about what happened, but just a conversation with him about, some frustrations or a general awareness of her.
Probably would have been about a month and a half before November 2nd. He would have brought up some frustrations to me, talking about how he was having a hard time and he didn't feel like she was being very adequate or understanding.
Okay. So probably early in the school year? Okay. So a month and a half before November 2nd would put us in like September of 2021. Is that around or about that time?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said that he had disclosed to you some frustrations about her teaching style or grading, or what were some of the specific issues that he was having?
He just felt like she was very old school.
Mm-hmm.
He said he felt like he didn't care and that she had it out for him, basically.
And having spent a full school year in her class when you were in 10th grade, and now getting to know Chaden as being pretty smart, when you heard about these frustrations inside your head, are you like, well, I've been in her class, and yeah, she's old school, but it's you can get through it? Or were you in somewhat agreement with Chaden that, like, yeah, based on what my friend here is saying, she's being unfair?
I mean, I had already taken her class, I suppose. I guess I thought maybe just language isn't for him, like Spanish isn't for him.
Sure.
Because, it was still, like, relatively easy for me.
Sure.
Often I didn't fully apply myself in classes, and I could still skate by through that class pretty easily. So.
Mm-hmm. And about how often was he bringing this up to you? From, like you said, it kind of started maybe mid-September, early in the school year. Is this becoming, when is it all of a sudden going from, yeah, my buddy's kind of bitching about this teacher that he has, to, wow, this guy's really having some struggles and frustrations? Was it immediately apparent that he was really having these issues, or did that come later?
Please repeat your question.
Yeah, sure. So, for example, I have coworkers, and occasionally we'll complain about our boss, for example. Now, sometimes it's just kind of like off-the-cuff frustrations, but occasionally there might be a frustration that gets told to me that, like, oh, that's not your run-of-the-mill concern. Like, this guy's really got a beef with my boss. Was it apparent right away when he first started talking to you about these issues in mid-September? Was it apparent right away that, like, wow, he's really, really upset, like, this guy's really got an issue with Miss Graber, or did that come later?
No, it was not immediately apparent.
Okay.
And it didn't really become apparent until, a couple weeks before this happened. It kind of came up suddenly.
Oh, okay. Was he talking about it frequently leading up to that, or was it just occasionally?
It was more like every other week thing. He might talk about, oh man,
okay,
I have a tough time in Spanish.
Okay. And you said that maybe a couple weeks before November 2nd, all of a sudden it took a turn? Okay, tell me about that, if you will.
Well, it was just like any other day. I was eating lunch in the cafeteria with John and Chaden and a few other people that we sit with. And when I got up to bust my lunch trays, he kind of pulled me aside and said, would you help me if I killed Miss Graber?
Mm-hmm. And are you guys still in the lunchroom when he makes this comment to you?
Yeah.
Okay. But away from people, or are you still part of a group of people? Is he whispering? Tell me about that.
We were standing up together, so we weren't sitting or near directly adjacent to anyone. And he kind of leaned into me and whispered it to me.
Would you help me if I killed Miss Graber? Those were his words? Okay. And what was your response?
I paused for a moment and looked at him, and then I said, sure, pretty much. I said yes.
Okay. And I mean, that's not a request that a friend asks you every day.
Yeah.
And so, what was your immediate reaction that like, hey, he's my best friend, he needs something, I'm here to help? Or what kind of thoughts were going through your mind before you say like, yeah, sure?
I mean, originally was just trying to, yeah. As soon as he said that, I was like, holy shit. I mean, I guess I'll help you. Like, I'm just trying to be a good friend, basically.
And did you believe him that he was genuine and sincere, or did you think he was
It was
just blowing
still
up?
mixed feelings. Like, I wasn't sure if he was serious or not.
Okay.
But I definitely saw it as a possibility that he was being serious.
Sure. Okay. All right. And so this happens at a day of school. What's the next thing that happens to make this all of a sudden a reality? Like he's expressing to you that he has a want to do this. He's asked for your help. You've indicated that you'll help. What's the next thing that happens? Whether it's planning, communication, surveillance, what happens next?
It would have been about a week later.
And now we're a week before the incident itself.
Mhm.
Okay.
Correct. He just made a passing comment about there's a 4-day weekend coming up, and he said that'd probably be a good time to do it.
Okay. And what was your response to that?
I said, okay. I mean, it's your plan.
Okay. And I mean, you're a smart kid. You're a socially functionable kid. Makes friends here, makes friends out there on the tennis team. Did you feel like, in spite of the fact that there could potentially be some bad consequences, legal consequences for getting involved in something like that, you were close enough with Shaden that it was worth it?
I'll be honest, the consequences never even crossed my mind.
Okay.
It's just...
Okay. And then beyond, I'm sure that I would imagine that when he expresses this desire to you and you say, sure, and then a week later he says, hey, 4-day weekend's coming up, that'd be a good time to do it. You say, okay. I'm sure at some point you probably ask the question of like, is this because of the grade? Is this because of her teaching style, or what's this because of? I can't imagine that you just have that quick interaction that's echoed with an okay or a sure and not have a few follow-up questions.
Honestly, we had maybe a few discussions here or around. I can't remember exactly when. It would have been in between 2 weeks before it happened, of him talking about not liking her teaching style, being unsure of whether he'll be able to pass, and worried that it would affect him moving forward.
Okay. In terms of affect him moving forward, are we talking about having to do summer school, or not getting into the college that he wants to, or having to repeat a class, or what are the effects of him not doing well in Spanish?
He had expressed a desire to me to go to a boarding school in Spain, possibly for his, to add to a college resume to make him look like a more appealing candidate. And he was fairly sure that it wouldn't be possible if he had failed a class like Spanish.
Okay. Did he say the name of this boarding school?
No, he didn't give details as to what the boarding school was.
Okay. Did he talk about it a lot, or just once in passing, or?
A couple conversations about I'd probably move from Fairfield and go to Iowa City.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe attend the college at Des Moines.
Mm-hmm. But Spain, just in passing, you think?
I'm pretty sure he only brought it up the one time. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Had he ever brought up this type of request with anybody else, whether it's a kid at school that he doesn't like or anyone else?
I believe he asked Dill Hurlin before he asked me if Dill Hurlin would assist him in killing Miss Graber.
Okay. And how do you know that?
He told me, I think, shortly after he asked me, he said something along the lines of, well, I already asked Dill, but I'm pretty sure he thought I was joking.
Okay. Would you happen to know about anything that might have happened at Miss Graber's residence or vehicle around homecoming?
No.
Any vandalism or broken windows or?
See, I had never TP'd. It was something I was actually kind of looking forward to, you know, throwing toilet paper around. It would have been my first actual, like, prom year or whatever around that time at a big high school. Unfortunately, I missed the whole thing and I didn't get to TP anything with anybody, so I was disappointed.
Okay. Now, do you know who Dalton Mundia is? Okay. And what do you know about Dalton?
I know he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been October 7th, I believe. He took his own life.
Okay. And do you know why?
I don't know that anyone except his family knows the actual reason why, but I mean, rumors go around. Some people said it was because of football. I mean, I don't necessarily believe that, but you know, I just think he was having a hard time.
Obviously,
working at life.
Yeah. Beyond taking these steps to kill Miss Graber, had Shaden expressed any other options other than killing, whether it's vandalism or only that?
Yeah, that was the only thing he expressed to me.
Okay. And I suppose I misphrased this before, but had he ever come to you and asked you for help with any other thing of an illegal nature, whether it's, hey, I'm going to go slash somebody's tires or commit vandalism, or I'd really want to kill this other person? Was this the first and only time he's ever asked you for a favor of this nature?
Correct.
Okay.
I would imagine that he's like, hey, up to like go get weed or something like that, though, right?
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I mean, you guys smoke weed together. I imagine those things happen, right?
Yeah.
Right. Were you aware of him having beef with anybody else besides Miss Graber?
He had a problem with a couple of kids. Aaron, can't remember his name. It would have been Keegan. It's been a long time since I've thought about those two.
Sure.
He had I think they like jacked a couple things off him, and I went on my own accord to kind of ask him like what that was about. But I mean, he didn't ask me to do that. I don't know of anyone else that he currently had problems with at the time.
Okay. So as you're starting to have those conversations, 2 weeks and then 1 week in advance, I know sometimes we don't really get into our feelings, but how did that make you feel? Were you excited about the possibility of putting this plan into motion? Did you feel empowered, nervous, anxious? How did you feel?
I would have been feeling pretty nervous at the time. I mean, at this point I was pretty convinced that he was going to go through with it, and I had already agreed, and I just didn't want to seem like a coward or a wuss by backing out at the last moment.
Okay. And so specifically, and I'm kind of referring back to another question here, but when you say you're nervous, what are you nervous? I mean, obviously you're nervous about committing it, but what about this act makes you nervous?
I guess the fact that it could go wrong, or
And how would it go wrong potentially? Like she lives, or somebody finds you, or
that somebody would discover me.
okay. Okay. And again, I'm referencing back to another question here, but you had talked about how consequences really didn't enter your mind at that time, but it sounds like you were aware that, like, hey, if I get discovered after helping commit murder, there's going to be some consequences here.
Yeah, but I didn't spend too much time dwelling on what the consequences would be. I mean, prison seemed like a foreign concept to me, and I wasn't even sure what the consequences for murder were.
Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, I've worked my fair of murder cases. I've had plenty of instances where, even though they're a little bit remorseful, suspects are a little bit remorseful about, you know, their time in jail, they're really not regretful of in the moment having to make that decision and carry it out. Did you feel like this is something that, although you're nervous about, you felt, I used the word before, empowered, but was it something that, like, hey, let's go through with this, let's do it? Were you excited about it? Did you feel empowered? How did you feel?
I wouldn't use the word excited. I mean, I guess afterwards, realizing that I had taken someone's life, sort of, I felt different. I don't know if empowered is the word I would use, but I didn't feel exactly like the same person anymore.
Right. And I'm certainly not here to cast judgment on what you've been through in your life and what led you to that point, but there was a Snapchat video reviewed of you just before, where you're kind of talking to the camera about this is the last face that the teacher's going to see. Do you recall this video?
It was a video?
I think it was just a snap picture.
Yeah.
The snap picture with I'm sorry, a snap picture with the
With the
caption.
caption.
Excuse me, yes.
And
But
it
I mean,
was
but
after. That wasn't taken before.
okay, but what I'm getting at is that, to me, shows somebody that's not ashamed of what he's doing, is what I'm getting at. And so there had to be some pride, I would think, that was between the two of you, that you're working together on this and executing the way that you wanted to. Is that fair?
There would have been some bravado. You trying
Sure,
to
right.
project myself as some, I don't know, cold-hearted killer. I guess.
Okay. Okay. Now, when was let's talk about, in terms of the planning, you agree to help him out, you agree that, hey, there's a 4-day weekend coming up. What are your different options here?
Explain what you mean, my options.
What are the different options for a plan? Like, we could shoot her, we could use baseball bats, we could stab her, we could do all these different things. What's being discussed between you two?
I really just left the planning up to him. As far as the method of actually executing the murder, I left that up to him. I was only involved in the surveilling beforehand, and then the actual act itself.
Okay. So in terms of his plans, did he discuss with you other possibilities besides the baseball bat of, like, hey, we could run her off the road, we could stab her, we could do these other things? Was it always going to be in Chautauqua Park with the baseball bat, you two?
It was always going to be in the park.
Okay.
That was something we discussed. But as far as a baseball bat, that was something he kind of just brought up offhand. I mean, I guess we'd agreed that we could use a baseball bat, yeah.
Mhm.
So that's what he brought.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And what type of equipment did you use? Obviously a baseball bat. What type of other equipment did you either stage out there or bring with you that day?
I brought only myself, and I wore some gloves and a cap. Jaden, I guess, had a backpack filled with a bag of water, a screwdriver, and a hammer, all to destroy her phone if we found it on her person.
Okay.
He also brought the bat itself.
What's the water for?
To destroy the phone.
Okay. Water, screwdriver, and hammer to destroy her phone.
He also brought a pocket knife, and he said, well, just in case we need to use it.
Presumably
To
stab her?
stab her.
Okay. Okay. And then was this always discussed between you two, or text message between you two, Snapchatted, emailed? How are you guys communicating?
Through Snapchat or Instagram, I believe, when we could.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And then at any time from, other than Dill Hurlin, was there any time when there was the thought of bringing someone else into the fold to assist you two?
After it had happened, I think I contacted Zach, I believe, and I asked him, or John. I'm not exactly sure which one I asked, but it was either Zach or John, or perhaps both. I asked to help bury something. I was pretty vague with it, but I would have been referring to Miss Graber.
Okay.
But that was the only time involving someone else came up.
Right.
And I didn't bring that up with
Right.
Jake.
Yeah, go ahead with your question if while I catch up on my notes.
At any time during this, do you guys, like, when you're planning this, do you ever see or make a list of items that you'll need, like a to-do list or
I was
kind of an
not
itinerary?
involved in making a list of any kind of like what to do, what to bring. I just assumed that he would do all of that.
And he never showed you a list?
No.
Okay.
Thank you. So what type of, you had talked about the items that he showed up with. What about the wheelbarrow?
Well, we're kind of jumping ahead, but the wheelbarrow would have, I grabbed it from his house. He left it there for me to retrieve, and I would have just gone to his house at around 12 and then grabbed it. We were supposed to meet outside of his house at that point and then go bury Miss Graber.
Oh, so the wheelbarrow came after?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just, okay. And I'm just trying to get all the equipment identified.
Right.
Okay, so we can get to that later, but in terms of, you got your water, screwdriver, hammer, all in a backpack? Is that correct?
I'm pretty sure he brought it all in his
Okay.
backpack.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. What about you? What kind of stuff did you bring? You said gloves and your own baseball bat, or?
No, just
No.
a wool cap and
Just a
some
wool cap.
gloves.
Okay. And how many total baseball bats are we talking?
He just had his,
But was there any else out there that we may have missed? Nothing, just the one.
just the one.
Okay.
Do you remember what color that one was?
It would have been gray with orange writing or designs. Possibly like flames. I can't exactly remember. But it was dark gray or black with orange designs of writing.
But none of the bats that were at your house were that bad.
No.
Okay. Okay. And let's talk about in the lead up surveillance. What kind of surveillance are you guys doing?
So it would have been on Monday, November 1st. I would have been hanging out with John and Braden, I believe his name was. I was more of an acquaintance with Braden, introduced through John, but I would have been hanging out with John and Braden at the skate park. And then I checked my phone and I remembered I was supposed to go do this surveillance with Chaden. And so I kind of said, I told him, hey, I got to go do something. Braden, can I borrow your bike so I can get there faster? And he said, sure.
And this would have been in the afternoon?
It would have been around somewhere between 2 and 3.
Okay.
in the afternoon.
Braden's bike?
Braden's bike.
Okay.
And I left him my skateboard as assurance. And so I biked from Obie Nelson Park to Fairfield High School.
That's where you met him?
Chaden was already inside meeting with Miss Graber over, I guess, his grades or excess schoolwork he needed to get caught up on.
This is Monday?
This is Monday.
Okay. Okay. And so you're standing out waiting for him?
Yeah.
Okay. And then from there, where do you go?
From there, he came out, and I guess he said she had some other stuff she had to finish before she would leave. And so he went over to the bike rack, which was farther away from where her van was. At the time, I didn't know what car she drove.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes and he leaves and he gets on his bike, and I'm still standing near the football field, actually, like, coincidentally a few feet away from her van.
Mm-hmm.
And I begin to walk my bike up over to see what's going on with Chaden. And then that's when I see her come out of the school and get into the van. And then I followed it to Chautauqua on bike.
Okay. Did you acknowledge her when she came out? Did you guys see each other, say hi Miss Graber, hi Jeremy, nothing like that?
No,
Okay.
I don't think she saw me.
Okay. Okay.
And then Chaden caught up with me when we were at the park.
And how does he catch up with you?
He had his bike.
He had his bike, okay.
He already knew that she went to Chautauqua Park.
Mm-hmm.
And so he biked there when he saw that I was gone. And then I think we watched her walk the trail once around, and then we just left.
Okay. And where are you watching her from?
On the trail itself.
You're on the trail?
Mm-hmm.
Are you 50 yards behind her?
About.
Are you
Walking our bikes along the trail.
okay.
A good distance behind.
Does she ever look back and do like that, anything of that nature?
No.
So as far as you could tell, you guys never make eye contact. She's not aware that you're back there?
I can't remember if it was the day of or if it had been on Monday, but we did end up bumping into her and saying hi. I'm not exactly sure whether that was that day or the day of, but yeah.
Okay. Just hi?
It would have been like, hi, how are you? Wave, and then keep walking.
Okay. You both did?
Yeah.
Okay. And are you and Chaden in the day before during the surveillance, or the day of, smoking any weed, having a drink, anything of that nature?
Well, on the day of, I was at the park with Zoe beforehand, and her and I were smoking weed together at one of the park shelters.
Okay. Anybody else besides you two just smoking weed?
No, just two of us.
Okay. But beyond that, you weren't doing any psychedelics or heavy drinking, anything of that nature?
No.
Okay. All right. And did Chaden ever indicate to you of why is a 4-day weekend good as opposed to a school night?
I always just assumed because we wouldn't have to be at school, so he could have the time to make the preparations.
Okay.
And we knew she would be at school, or I guess he knew. And so we went off of that knowledge that we would have time to prepare beforehand, and we would know where she was at.
Okay. Okay. And so going into November 2nd, what is the agreed up? You've done your surveillance. Presumably you've discussed what equipment you're going to need at different times. What ultimately is the plan? Going into it, before you get there, before it actually starts happening, in your words, what's the plan?
Hit her with a bat and drag her off of the trail.
Okay.
Do you have an area picked out?
He had that already picked out, and I found out when he dragged me off after I said goodbye to Zoe, and then I followed him to where he had already had all his equipment laid out.
Okay. And was that equipment what we just described before?
Yes.
Okay. And he had it laid out already?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What kind of things is he saying? Is he saying like, I'm gonna fucking kill that bitch? Is he not saying anything? Is he describing to you what you two are going to do? I mean, it's pretty easy and straightforward to say, we're gonna hit her, we're gonna drag her off, but I imagine that there was a little bit more color in the conversation.
I discussed how, or he said he would just walk up behind her and hit her, and I said, well, okay, I guess I can stand a little farther up the trail and look out and make sure no one's coming from this direction.
Okay. Like in front of where she's walking.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know where she was
Okay.
walking.
In front of where she's walking, is that closer to the parking lot, or are you
Closer
talking
to
down
the
the long
parking lot.
stretch?
Closer to the parking lot.
Okay. Does this look familiar in terms of her
Yeah.
walking path?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not going to be completely accurate, but just for my frame of reference, since I'm not a Fairfield guy, can you put an X generally where about she would have been walking at that time?
Well, she would have been walking along here.
Sure. Yep.
And then roughly, yeah, you can pretty much see it right around here is the access trail. So he would have hit her around probably here.
About there. And then where are you positioned at? Don't mark it, but where are you positioned
Just a
at?
little farther up,
A little farther ahead.
right around
Okay.
here,
And then we
pretty
have
much on the trail.
And then he's hiding somewhere in the tree area?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. And so you're kind of keeping a lookout here, and he's probably keeping a lookout down that
You
way?
can see down there.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Would you mind just putting your initial right next to that X? It's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. Perfect, thank you. Okay. But no other options were discussed? Like, he never contacted you and said, like, God, it'd be nice just to have a gun to shoot her, or it'd be nice to catch her, in the vehicle, anything of that nature?
No, not to me.
No, okay.
And you said he had his equipment laid out. What equipment does he have laid out?
It would have been the screwdriver, hammer, baseball bat, bag of water, pocket knife.
And then were you instructed to bring any equipment yourself?
No.
Okay. And then, so the plan is he's going to hit her in the head, you're going to stand watch out, and then you're going to together remove her from the trail. What's the plan after that?
There wasn't really a plan beyond that. It's just improvisation.
Okay. Like hide the body, bury the body, stage the body?
At that time, we were going to hide the body. It had come up that we could try and make it look like it was a suicide of some sort, lay her on the tracks, but that just didn't seem right. Didn't seem like it would work either.
Okay. Okay. If the plan is to maybe hide the body, or maybe it's discussed to have it staged so it looks like it was hit by a train, is there any further discussion about, like, sooner or later her body's going to get found and people are going to start asking questions? Is there any discussion about maybe we should run away? Maybe a suicide type situation, anything of that nature? Like beyond November 2nd, what's the plan?
I guess in our arrogance, we kind of assumed that nobody would ever find her in the spot that we left her. But so after we had, after he had hit her, I told him, like, holy shit, like, make sure you got her, like, make sure it's done. And so then he hit her a couple more times, and then we dragged her off pretty sure I did that by myself. I dragged her off. He was up looking along the trail. He had already put the bat back where he had it with the rest of his stuff. And then I dragged her back to pretty much where the equipment was at.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard some like gurgling coming from Miss Graber, and I grabbed the bat, and that's when I, made sure that
Mhm.
she didn't have to continue living in that state.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Backing up just a bit, was that the one and only day that you were a part of surveillance on that Monday? Or had you been out there before with Shaden or by yourself to kind of keep an eye on things?
No, that was Monday. Was the only day.
Was the only day.
I did
Okay.
surveillance.
Did he indicate that he had been out there other than that?
I believe he did. I'm not 100% sure, but he did know for a fact that she goes to Chautauqua Park after she works.
Okay. All right. And then, so tell me about like the day of. You guys don't have school, right?
No school.
And you had been out there. Was it just a coincidence that you had met up with Zoe at the same time, same general place that you're going to meet up with Shaden?
Well, I wanted to see Zoe, and that was the only time we could work it in. And I also had to be at Chautauqua Park, and so she lived very close, so that's just where we met.
Okay. And then what else are you doing throughout the day? I mean, this doesn't happen until the later afternoon. You meet up with her right before you smoke a little weed, but leading up to that, what kind of stuff are you doing throughout the day?
Oh man, it's hard to remember back that far. I might have been asking if there was someone I could hang out with. I'm pretty sure John said he was busy. He was grounded or something or other. I probably would have just been at home on my phone or maybe doing homework. I'm not exactly sure, but I was probably most likely at home.
Was there ever any discussions between you and Shaden about, I mean, it seems obvious, but any discussions between you two where it's discussed, this cannot be talked about, bragged about, discussed with anyone ever? Or was that just kind of assumed between you two?
I guess you would say it was assumed. It didn't come up, and certainly didn't come up in conversation.
Okay.
He did say something along the lines of, well, if they catch one of us, the other one won't tell on them. That's basically what he said.
The other one will not tell?
Will not tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, it seemed apparent, certainly on his side, that there was a code of silence between the two of you. Is that accurate? Okay. And at any time did he ever threaten you with violence, like before, during, or after? No. Were you ever concerned that he might like try to get rid of the witness, meaning you?
No.
Okay. And so at this point, if you don't mind, one of the things I sometimes like to do is just kind of open it up for an open narrative. And by that I mean I'm going to try to shut up long enough for you just to explain your recollection of things, how they went down. I'm sure I'll probably have some follow-up questions when you're through, but sometimes just kind of like putting it all on the table, and it gives us some perspective on what we're looking at. So if you wouldn't mind, just beginning, you're with Zoe, you're smoking weed, and at some point I assume Shaden shows up. If you wouldn't mind taking it from there.
Sure. So I had just knocked Zoe's pipe off the table and broke it, and her vape had died. She was getting ready to go home, and I said, yeah, that's great. And then that's when Shaden came to the park, and I said, hold up, there goes Shaden. I think I had told her I was going to be meeting him afterwards, and so I take off running because he completely missed where I told him I was going to be at, and so he ran past down the trail, and so I got up and I chased after him. Eventually I caught up to him, and then we walked back over towards where that access trail is, and then Shaden would have kept walking towards the access trail, and I think I went over to Zoe and I said like something along the lines of, hey, you should probably go, it's nice seeing you, bye. And then she left, and then I went down to the access trail where Shaden was at. That's when I saw all the things he brought. And we discussed a general plan of like I'll stand up here and be lookout. You'll walk up behind her, and then I think we walked back out onto the trail to wait for Miss Graber to show up. And I can't remember if we saw her drive in or if we noticed her van and then knew she was there, but eventually she was there, and we bumped into her on the trail while we were looking for her, and said, oh hi, how are you, and then kept walking back down towards the access trail. We were kind of in front of we would have been closer to the parking lot, and so we took the quicker way to the access trail while she was walking around, and then we waited there with me being lookout and him standing on the access trail with the bat in his hands. And then he kind of gave me like a nod saying like, here she comes, and I gave him the signal that it's all clear, and then she walked by and he hit her in the back of the head, and then I said like, holy shit, make sure she's dead. So he hit her a couple more times, and then I dragged her off towards the access trail, and then I wasn't sure whether she was alive or not, and I took the bat and I made sure that she wasn't alive or breathing. And then Shaden wasn't there at that moment. He was standing out on the trail, I guess making sure that nobody else was coming along. And then eventually he did come back there, and I think he said like what was that? What was that noise? Did you hit her again? I was like, I said, yeah, I did. And then we grabbed her and we moved her towards like a strip of woods that separates the path from the access trail. And then that's where we left her. I found her car keys. I handed them to Shaden. We didn't find her phone. And so the bag of water was like leaking, and I didn't want to bring it into the car. And so I took the bag of water and I walked to the end of the parking lot and I threw it down a storm drain. And then Shaden got into the van and came by and picked me up, and I jumped into the van, and then we drove off to a spot I knew about where I figured it might take a while before anyone found the van. That would be the end of Midland, Glasgow. And then he drove the van behind the trees where it was found. And then we started walking, and originally we were thinking like, well, let's just walk it, it's a long way to walk. Then I was like, I could probably call Habib. And so that's when I pulled out my phone, used the last couple of percent battery that it was on to call Habib. I think I called him twice before he picked up. Told him where we were at, and I asked him if he could come pick me up. I told him somebody had ditched me and Chaden there after we smoked, and then so he came by and picked us up. And he was already late for soccer. He told us that, and so we said that he could just drop us off at Chautauqua Park. Pretty sure Chaden had left his bike there, and so he had to go get his bike. And then Habib dropped us off there, and then I went home. Pretty sure. Let me take a minute to remember exactly what happened after that. Yeah. I believe I would have went home after that. And I think I went home and took a shower and then ate something and took a nap. After that, I was pretty exhausted. Me and Chaden had agreed to meet up at 12 o'clock at his house to finish disposing, move Miss Graber to a different spot.
Midnight?
At midnight.
Okay.
I did get something wrong. Let me move back.
Sure.
I knew I was missing something, but after Habib dropped us off, I actually went to Chaden's house with him, and he handed me a small green bag with a tarp inside of it, and he said, like, make sure you can bring this out of your house with you and you sneak out tonight, and like I'll meet you at 12.
Mm-hmm. Does Habib hear this conversation?
No, this is after he's dropped us off.
After, okay.
Me and Chaden had walked from Chautauqua to his house,
Mm-hmm.
and then he says this to me. He says,
Right.
"Here, take this. Make sure you can bring it with you, and at 12
Mm-hmm.
we'll meet up." And then at 12, I snuck out of my house. He had left his wheelbarrow in his driveway for me to come and grab and move for him. And I just grabbed the wheelbarrow. I think I had a shovel with me. I put that in there, threw the tarp in there, and then I pushed the wheelbarrow down in front of the high school to Chautauqua Park. And when I got there, Chaden was already there, and he was using a flashlight to scrub at the blood that was left on the trail from where we had hit her and dragged her. And we kind of just worked from where he originally hit her down to the access trail, just using lights to kind of wash away and wipe away any blood that we found and pick up any bloody leaves, try and disguise any trail we would have left. And then we found Miss Graber's body. We moved it into the wheelbarrow and then rolled it along the train tracks to where we eventually decided we moved far enough, and then we rolled her down the side of the tracks and then placed the tarp over her body. The wheelbarrow was kind of falling apart and it had blood on it, so we kind of tried to kick the wheel off of it so it would look like a piece of trash, and we left that on top of the tarp. And then I went home. Well, actually, I walked to Chaden's house with him, and he grabbed a pack of Alka-Seltzer out of his, grabbed that, and we went to my house, and we proceeded to get drunk, and then he left and went home, and I passed out in my bed. Yeah, that would have been, oh man. That would have been Tuesday. Yeah, and the next day, Wednesday, there was school. Went to school pretty tired. After school, hung out with John and Zoe and Kaylee McGuire, John's girlfriend.
And where did you hang out?
Originally, we hung out at Logan Klein's house. And then we moved locations over to John's house, where we had a small fire. And then I think it was starting to get dark at that point. My dad came and picked Zoe and myself up, and we dropped Zoe off at her place, and then my dad drove us home. And that night, I sent several text messages to John, explaining to him what happened between me and Shaden and Mrs. Graber. And at like 4 in the morning, I was arrested.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. That's a lot of good detail. Just a couple follow-ups. Once she walks down that path and you and Shaden give each other the head nod of here she comes, and you're giving him the head nod of basically all clear, did she need to be distracted in any way, or did he just run up, pop her without her ever knowing anybody was behind her ever, or did he have to give chase to her, or how would you describe that?
It's a very vivid image. He had these big yellow work gloves on, and he kind of quietly just walked up behind her with long strides, taking her slower gait, and then he just swung really hard. And at that point I was kind of walking towards her down the trail because I knew we were going to have to move her pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And then he was just snuck up behind her with the bat and hit her in the head.
And any time does it appear, if you're watching, I mean, because I walk on wooded trails or jog on them, typically I can feel if somebody's coming up behind me. Was there ever like this in the moment before, or did she get hit square in the back because it assumed she never saw it coming?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she saw me, and I was standing on the trail and walking towards her, and I had a face mask up, and I pulled it down, and I guess she was just looking at me while he walked up behind her.
I would assume for her being out there by herself to see an individual with a mask in front, that would be startling. Did she stop?
No, and that's kind of why I pulled the mask down, because I didn't want to startle her.
Oh, okay.
So that's the whole reason I took the mask off.
Okay, got it. Okay, you had mentioned before about how once you and Chayton make your way from where Zoe was, or once you meet up, you see all the equipment light up. At one point, you actually cross paths with Miss Graber and you exchange pleasantries. About how long was that interaction in time? Are we talking
A few seconds.
a few seconds?
Where's that at, Jeremy?
That would have been on the trail in front of the parking lot.
Right where the arms come down? Where they have it blocked? Remember at November 1st, they put the arms down so you can't drive around. And then you kind of have to walk around those arms, and then you make the right to start on the trail.
Yeah, it would have been between those arms. Yeah.
And where the trail turns off to the right to get on it.
Like if you were to go from the parking lot and just walk straight to the trail, that was a roundabout where it was at.
Okay.
Okay. Once she struck, and would you say it was square in the back of the head, base of the skull, top of the head?
Just square in the back.
Square in the back. And is this Chayton coming up with one hand on the back and striking, or was it two hands as if he's playing softball or baseball?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay. And shortly after that first strike, that's when you guys go into concealment mode. Is that fair?
Right after that, I told him, "Holy shit! Like make sure it's done."
Okay.
And that's when he hit her 2 more times, and then
On the trail?
on the trail.
Before you guys move her,
Before we move her.
he hits her once, she goes down, you come over, make sure she's done, 2 more.
Yeah.
Is she lying on her face?
She would have been on her face.
On her
probably.
face, 2 more shots to the back of the head?
Back kind of side area. Yeah.
Backside area of the head, okay. And then that's when you two, at the conclusion of those 2 shots, that's when just you start to move her and he is lookout?
I think he originally started helping me, and then I was on my own dragging her, and then I wasn't even sure where he was at. I just knew I had to move her
Okay.
from where she was.
Okay. Is she, you'd be surprised with individuals who suffer head trauma, how long they can try to communicate even after suffering that head trauma. You talked about the gurgling. Is she trying to utter any words? Stop, help, why, anything?
No, when I was dragging her, I saw her hand just opening and closing. That was the only thing I saw, and then there was kind of just like a breath coming out.
And when you say her hands are opening and closing, are you dragging her by holding her wrists or her ankles, or?
I've got one arm in both of my hands dragging
One arm.
her.
Okay. Is it that hand that's opening up?
No, it's the other
It's
one
the
on
other one.
ground. Just opening
Okay. Okay.
and closing.
All right. Okay. Again, for the purposes of full disclosure, and also for the record, it appears my dictaphone has died, but fortunately we have audio video up there. Again, this is hindsight being 20/20, and for the sake of full disclosure, this is a pretty, I would characterize as a pretty passionate murder, as opposed to a distant one where it's not like you climbed up into a tree with a sniper rifle after, then ran away kind of coldly. This seemed to be very personal, certainly from Chayton's point of view. Are you or Chayton, during the course of the concealment, saying, "Fuck you, bitch, you got what you deserved,
No, there was none of that.
None of that?
No.
Certainly not from you is what you're saying?
And not from Shaden.
And not from Shaden either? No comments directed at all to her as this is going on?
It was pretty much just anything that was said was like what just happened, or was that you, or grab her keys. Those were pretty much the only things that were said between him and me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any items taken out of the van? You guys move the van, you're looking around. Before you leave it there, are you doing a quick check to see if, first of all, have I left anything of my person here? And then is there anything of hers that we want to take with us?
We did a quick check to see if her phone was there. There was no phone. I ended up going through a wallet looking for the phone. I found some cash, and we took that and tossed the wallet out into the woods somewhere around the van.
Do you remember how much it was?
It was $75, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. And it was divided 35 and 40, is that correct? And how was it decided that one of you would get 35 and one would get 40?
He gave me 40 because I'm pretty sure he said he dragged me into it, so he gave me 40. And then there was that, yeah.
Okay. I'm a stickler for wording, but you said, I guess he figured?
I'm not exactly sure.
Did
what
he say
said,
that?
But he was along the lines of, it was like my plan, or you had to do more than I did. Or
something to that extent.
Something along those
Okay.
lines.
All right. Okay.
What was Shaden wearing?
I believe it was black sweatpants and a gray hoodie.
And do you know what happened to those clothes?
No.
Do you remember what color his bike was?
Definitely don't remember what color his bike was.
How did you get to the park?
I walked from my house.
Are you 100% sure it was Monday that Shaden had his conference with his teacher?
Yes.
And was his mom there?
Okay, well, now I redact my statement. I'm no longer 100% sure if it was Monday, because I do remember his mom was there during one of their meetings. I'm not sure if he had more than one meeting. He might have just been there doing work, but it could have been
On Monday?
on Monday. But I know he was in the building with Miss Graber.
Okay. But when you're doing the surveillance and he's in the building or whatever he's doing, what part of the schools, because we got your SNAP map, where are you at around the school? Or a little bit everywhere?
I would have been leaning on the bike pretty much in front of the bell next to the football field, right along that fence separating the football field from the street.
And this is Monday. Are you ever around the track?
And I got the track field?
Yeah.
No.
And then what about like in front, like in those houses across the street from where Miss Graber?
Yeah, that's where I would have been standing. Like, I guess I would have been...
The bell tower's
Close
on the
to-
sidewalk, right in front of the track and the football
Yes,
field.
yeah.
But those houses across the street, did you ever go across the street so you could see, basically look at the front of the school?
I don't think so. But I do remember walking over towards the school itself because I was unsure where Shaden was. And then I did see Miss Graber leave, and that's when I got on the bike.
And she walked one lap that Monday around.
We're not sure. We watched her walk a lap, and then we just left. We're not sure how many laps she walked.
Okay.
Okay. About how long, once she's hit, about how long are you guys out there before you're out of there? Are we talking all this was done in 15 minutes, an hour, half an hour? What are we thinking?
Well, I'd say, yeah, about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we got in her van and drove off.
Okay.
And then when you guys went back and moved the body again, were you wearing the same clothes?
I was.
And what about Shaden? Was he wearing the same clothes that he wore when you guys did the murder itself?
I don't think he was wearing the same clothes, no.
Do you remember what he was wearing when you guys were moving?
I don't recall it.
So, once you see her drop after that first initial hit, you go up there and you make the indication or issue the direction to Shaden to like make sure she's not breathing, and then you say that he follows up with 2 shots. As you're moving her, she's opening, closing her hands. You say that, you know, by now we're committed, we're in this, and you feel the need to finish the job. About how, and again, I'm not going to hold you to the exact number, but about how many times do you strike her to finish things off?
5, more or less.
Approximately 5. And was there something about her body movement or lack thereof that made you think, I'm done at 5? As opposed to, I need to do 5 more?
Well, after 5, it kind of just felt like it's almost too much. Just like I didn't want to have to touch the bat to begin with, and then she was still alive, and I was waiting for a moment because after I heard that breath, I waited for a moment to see where Shaden was at, if he was going to come around, and then he didn't. And so then I picked up the bat, and I think it was around 5, and I was like, okay, I couldn't do any more, and I put the bat in.
And how did you wind up with the bat in your hands?
Because he had left it back there when he was standing out on the trail. He didn't have it with him. After I had dragged the body, he probably did drag it with me. It's all, no. I think after I had dragged the body, he went back there and set the bat down, and then went back out onto the trail while I finished moving her a little farther off to the access trail.
Okay. All right. So at one point, you don't know whether he hands it to you or he sets it down and you grab it as you're dragging and think, I need to finish her off?
He definitely didn't hand it to me. He set it down around where I picked it up and used it.
And then you made a comment about how when you guys went out there around midnight that he's using a flashlight to scrub blood off the trail.
That was unclear. He was using a flashlight to see where the blood was at, and then using like disinfectant wipes to scrub the blood off the trail.
Okay.
And how come you said originally that you were going to meet Shaden at Shaden's house and you were going to take the wheelbarrow down there and do all this stuff? Why is Shaden not there?
That was what I was wondering for a little while, and I stood outside of his house, and that's when I would have made those Snapchats, the one you were talking about with the last, here would be the last thing you ever see, and a picture of the wheelbarrow. And then I decided, well, he knows where to go, and then so I walked there by myself, and he was already there. I guess we weren't very clear because he didn't have his phone at the time. His mom had confiscated it, and so it was very hard for him to be able to communicate, and we just said we would meet at 12. We actually didn't specify where, I guess. He told me to come get the wheelbarrow. I assumed he would be there too, but he wasn't. And so then I went to Chautauqua Park.
Okay. And then you talked about how you guys are scanning the path that you took that night. You're picking up bloody leaves. What are you doing with the bloody leaves? Just
putting them in the plastic bag that held tarp.
Oh, okay.
And what do you do with them after?
Well, after we had realizing I skipped around too much.
It's okay.
I missed too many things. After we had rolled her down the tracks a little longer and then left her there. I took off the gloves that I wore, took off the gloves that he wore. We picked up the wipes that we could find, and we stuffed them all into that bag, and then kicked it down a storm drain on Low Street on our way back to his house to pick up the drinks.
When you walk back, how do you get to, because we don't see you in front of the school.
We walked along the tracks.
Okay. Either of you, oddly enough, you see people take trophies from after they commit a murder, whether they robbed the person after the fact. You said you were looking for her phone, didn't find that. You said you took the keys, but that was more for, I imagine, concealment of the van. Any other items of her that you took with you?
Just the $40.
Just out of the wallet?
Mm-hmm.
Out of the wallet, okay. One thing that we noticed was that when her body was found, pants are pulled down, shirt's up, and then she actually has a few garments of clothing that are completely away from the body. What's your explanation for that?
When we were dragging her, her pants started to come down. I was trying to pull them up. Chaden just said they're gonna fall off. And then so we actually left her in that dividing area with the pants down, like you were saying. The sweater, the green sweater, I think, came off when we were dragging her. We were pulling it along, it kept slipping, losing our grip. And that came off, and we threw that into the wheelbarrow and then finished dragging her, and then we rolled her down, and he kind of just grabbed the sweater and chucked it off after her.
Okay. Forgive me for asking this, but if I don't ask it, somebody's going to ask me why I didn't ask it. But was there any sexual motivation behind why she was found with pants down and shirt up?
No.
No. And you can, are you speaking also for Chaden with that regard too?
I wasn't with him 24/7 after this happened, but I'm pretty sure he didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
Okay.
It was just...
You see what I'm getting at though? Like there was no...
I understand.
Yeah, there was no taking 5 minutes by yourself to do anything of like masturbation or anything of that nature?
No.
Okay.
You said that it was just you and Chaden.
Correct.
And then at some point you had asked either John and or Zach to help bury the body. In any of this, was there any other person actively involved in either the planning, execution, or the cover-up?
No.
Okay. So if Logan Klein's running his mouth saying he was involved in the murder, he's just running his mouth?
Just talking shit.
He basically was supplying you your drugs. One of the people. Or he had the party house, he had the trap house that everybody...
Basically, sure, yeah.
Why did you send the Snapchats to John?
I'm pretty sure I even said it in the snaps, but I just couldn't hold it in. I had to tell somebody. I mean, yeah, I had to tell somebody.
Basically, in the snaps, it sounded like you
there was
needed to
also-
get it off your chest.
Yeah, there was also, I guess, a want to sound, I don't know, cool or cold or badass, just not sound like a pussy, I guess, essentially. I guess I just wanted to seem cool.
At some point, do you ask somebody if you can get rid of items at their house?
So at John's house, when we were there on Wednesday, I think I asked him, I think I said, like, man, I really hate these shoes. You think I could probably just burn them at your place? And then he said no, and I do believe later during the text messages, I asked if I could burn the clothes at his house, because he said, you got to get rid of those. And I was like, you're probably right. And I asked him if I could burn the clothes at his house.
Okay. Other than John and then asking Zach to help move, which he doesn't show up and help do, is there anybody else that you admit that you killed Mrs. Graber to?
No one else that I admitted it to, no.
What about your gaming buddies?
Oh, Jesus, right. There would have been Jack Grohl and Ben. Yes, those two were first people I told, I think. And yeah, that completely slipped my mind. I apologize, but I, once again, was telling them to seem, I guess, cool or edgy or cold or, yeah.
And on Snapchat world, what was your name?
I would have been Darker Wolf 1375.
And do you remember Ben's?
I believe it was Ben Allen and some numbers, and then Jack Roll would have been Mr. Awesome Dude, I'm pretty sure. But I had changed the names, and when you change their names, you don't see their original usernames, so I'm not exactly sure, but pretty sure.
And then when you said that you admitted to them, are you to just text or?
Texts and a picture, I think, of the wheelbarrow and a selfie of myself wearing the mask with the caption on it.
And in the wheelbarrow, it looks like, I don't know, it looks like a foot pump?
Right, we did bring a pump in case the wheelbarrow's tire went flat, because Chayden said it has a tendency to do that, and so he just threw the pump in there as an extra measure.
But at any of these items that you picked up or acquired from Chayden or that you saw laid out in the park, did you purchase any of those or know where those came from?
I know that I did bring a shovel because we thought we were going to dig a grave, but obviously it was November and the ground was frozen. I didn't buy anything specifically for the purpose of that, and I'm pretty sure the rest of the things were just things Chayden had lying around the house.
Did you do any test holes trying to dig anywhere?
We used originally we tried the ground, and we were like,
Where at?
Would have been along the tracks, pretty close to the access trail, and we realized, yeah, we're not going to be able to dig. And so then we used the shovels to kind of turn over some of the bloody ground, to just turn it over and make it look like somebody was moving the ground for some reason instead of a bloody mess.
And the holes that you dug, were those near, not on the same side of the railroad tracks, because you got the access, the tracks, the other side of the railroad tracks, and then the wooded area again? Which side of the tracks, the side closer to the tracks, or the further side of the tracks?
The closer side of the tracks. It would have been closer to the access trail and closer to Chautauqua Park, where we would have been turning over the soil.
Okay.
So I was at your house the following morning. I think I'm the one that woke you up. Since that time, you've been in police detention. Since that time, have you had any communication with Chayden?
Sure, yeah.
Here? And what kind of communication has that been like?
I think originally, like the first couple of days that we were out together in the pod that they've got, the juvenile detention, he was telling me to say something about there being like 8 people from Ottumwa involved in the killing of Miss Graber. Mm-hmm. And I kind of just told him, sure, whatever. Okay. Always seemed kind of stupid to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Make any threats towards you?
No.
You make any threats towards him?
No.
Okay.
Did he ask you if what you said when the cops came?
He did. I said I shut up and lawyered up, and then I asked him what he said, and he kind of just said, I can't exactly remember what he said, but he said he made up a very convincing lie that would throw them off, something along that line. And, yeah. And I said, okay. And that's when he was like, yeah, so tell him about the 8 dudes from Ottumwa who were involved wearing masks, the masked men.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, so he's your best friend. Some of the conversations you've had since then just seem kind of stupid, to be honest with you, right? I mean, would you characterize some of these conversations or these ideas or plans as being stupid, or how would you describe them?
Well, since being in detention.
Since being in detention.
there was only those like few first couple of days that we talked anything about the case. I mean, since then it's all just been about stuff that goes on in there. Like,
Okay.
We don't really talk about the outside very much.
And so everyone's clear that they're supposed to be sequestered, so
Right.
they're not supposed to have contact.
Right. Yep.
Just so you're aware.
Yeah. And so, looking back now, nearly a year and a half removed from November 2nd, what's your opinion of him? Still consider him a good friend?
He's kind of, I don't know how I never picked up on this, because apparently there were plenty of people around me who did. I guess I was too beguiled by him, I don't know. But now I can definitely see clearly he's kind of sneaky, arrogant. I mean, I don't know. I don't feel easy talking to him anymore. And when I see people start to trust him, I just like, I don't know, it makes me feel off, just like watching people make the same mistakes that I did.
Do you think it's weird that Shaden can't move the wheelbarrow? I mean,
there
it's at
really-
his house, the crap's at his house. I mean, why are you going to his house? And
There was no rational thought really at the point for those 2 days, and then so no, I didn't even think twice about it. But now looking back, it obviously looks very shady. But yeah, no, looking like, of course, like you said, hindsight's always 20/20. But at the time, there was just no rational thought going on.
what about, I mean, the school, you knew there were cameras at the school.
Yeah, that was something else that I thought of. Like, there's cameras. I guess. I mean, it's dark. They'll probably see me, but whatever.
I mean, it's not a normal thing, somebody walking at 12:10
Yeah.
and down the street with a wheelbarrow.
And I brought that up to him, and he said, "Oh, well, you can just tell people you're moving some tools for a friend
At midnight on a school night.
at midnight on a school night."
Okay.
Which storm drain?
Okay, I can give you the general area. I know it was on Low Street. Pretty sure it was Low and C. It would have been on the, let's see. I'm gonna try. It's gonna take me a little second here to get the directions squared away.
It wouldn't be on here, would it?
Oh, actually. Yeah, it would.
No, it's not far enough.
Not quite far enough?
Not far enough.
Okay.
You can look, but yeah.
Oh yeah, the tracks go right there. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So you come out the tracks.
And then we swing a right onto, I'm not sure.
D Street.
D Street. There we go. I'm pretty sure that would have been the one. And then we're walking down D Street till we hit Low, and then we take a left, and we're going down Low, and then I'm pretty sure on C Street, I was just like, hey, we can just kick this down the storm drain. And that's what we did.
Do you remember what corner?
That's what I was trying to remember. Would have been on the north side of Low Street. And I think it was the northeast corner on Low and C. But I know for a fact it was on the north side of Low Street.
At one point when we were talking about like beefs with kids and stuff like that and issues with kids, there's an altercation with Sergio Sharp.
Oh yeah. John Burnett had gotten into an altercation. He got set up by a girl and then kind of got the crap beat out of him by some grown men at Chautauqua Park. And when he told me about that, I was furious, and I immediately contacted as many people as I knew. And I guess our plan was to go to Sergio's house, TP's house, egg it, maybe crack a tail light on his car or something, kind of just give him a spook and let him know that that wasn't cool to beat up a kid. You're a grown dude. That didn't go down. He came out with a gun and started waving it around.
Sergio or Sergio's dad?
The dad. Came out with a gun and started waving it around, kind of scared everybody off. And then reluctantly I followed. I think I had a bat with me. Yeah, that was pretty much how the altercation went down. We went back, tried to get Habib's car, police was already there. Cedar Rapids Police Department was there too. I think they were helping out at the time. And then I got taken home. I found a little bit of weed in my backpack.
You guys get detained down at the high school, right?
Yeah, right near the high school. Or, yeah, near the high school, yeah.
Okay. We talked about your current impressions or opinions of Chaden. Again, a year and a half removed from the incident itself. How do you look back on that particular incident now?
I mean, with the deepest regret, wouldn't even sum it up. And not just regret for myself and for the loss of my freedom, but I just regret killing Miss Graber. I regret, what it's done for the community, what it's done for my family, for my dad, what it's done for their family, obviously, the Miller's family.
And when do you think that feeling took hold? Like once you were here in the last few months?
Would have been probably about, when you get into the detention center, they keep you isolated in your room for 7 days, and it would have been during that period of introspection and self-reflection, which was pretty much all I had to do besides reading, would have been at that point that I began to realize.
Yeah. And the reason I ask is because if you read the text messages to John and you look at that selfie, forgive me, but that doesn't look like a person that has a whole lot of regret. And you say that, you could be trying to act with bravado or a coolness or a coldness, but, that's tough to look around and say that, like, oh, this person's remorseful. So do you think that those messages and that picture was indicative of how you felt in the moment?
I mean, yeah, in the moment I probably would have been, I guess, high off of, whatever happens, like, I guess, high off adrenaline and all that, and maybe even, like you were saying, possibly feeling, empowered or whatever by the situation. And then wanting to seem like Billy Badass, I guess, making all those remarks.
Sure. Okay. We've been in here almost 2 hours.
Before we do,
I wasn't going to close up. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I just want to just be clear, and typically I'd have you guys leave the room and talk to my client. I don't want to give anyone the impression, obviously this is being recorded, like I'm telling my client what he needs to say. But he's gone over a lot of things. There's some things that we spoke about specifically that I want to make sure that are expressed to the state. That way, again, everything's out there, and you can't be accused of leaving anything out, because again, these are things that we've discussed. So you kind of described this, Jeremy, but just to be explicit, when Chaden first hit Miss Graber, and you said that was pretty hard. Did you think that was pretty much with all the force that he could muster?
100%, yeah.
Okay. And based on that first blow, you had the impression like that was going to kill her. She was going to die based on Chaden, that very first hit, correct?
Correct.
Now, and you talked about how there was a plan and you felt that Chaden was serious, but at the same time, you're kind of hoping he wouldn't go through with it, right? And so kind of talk about that. Again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know these are things that we've discussed. So, and the things that we've discussed were, kind of that oh shit moment that he actually did it. And then you're sort of thinking about, I helped plan this. I was the lookout. Sort of the gravity of everything is coming down on you.
And I'm realizing it's all pointing to me just as much as him, and there's really no way out of it. And so, I could have, probably should have, definitely should have just walked away at that point, but I said rational thinking was going through the window, and I was realizing, like how implicated I was in what had just happened. And so
that there's absolutely no doubt in your mind, had Chaden not made that first hit, this would not have happened.
no, there was no way I was going to do the first hit, throw the first blow.
And your initial intention was to help Chaden, not to help participate in what had happened. That's just how it kind of went.
Correct. I even said it to him. I said, Jesus, I could have never done that first hit. I could have never done that. And then he turned to me and he said, well, I was going to do it with or without you.
And you had mentioned, I think, the first time that you were describing you hitting Miss Graber, and I think you described it, and again, we've talked about this before, but just to make it clear to the state, and we've talked about, the legal implications really don't change anything, but at that moment, you felt she was going to die, and you even expressed to your dad, you felt like it was kind of a mercy killing, that you were putting her out of her misery at that point?
Correct.
Okay. We have talked about how in the aftermath of all this going on, the Snapchats and the messages that make you look cold, make you look a certain way, and obviously your hope was that you wouldn't get caught, right? I mean, you're not trying to purposely get caught, but at the same time, you're doing things that are really reckless with information.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I know is actually in, I think, some of the snaps that we've discussed, but you didn't mention here today, that you expressed, I think, maybe John or one of your other friends, that you were feeling suicidal right afterward, correct?
Correct.
Can you, again, I don't want to be the one to convey all this stuff, so Jeremy, I don't want you to be talking about these things.
Yeah. I think I picked up my phone that night that I told John. I picked up my phone originally to tell him that I was just like, I was on the brink of just ending it all. I mean, there was some serious shit that had just gone down, and I wasn't even sure what to do. And so I told John that, and he started to talk me down, and then it kind of just all came out.
Do you find John to be a pretty honest and genuine guy?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. Any reason why he would lie about this information?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
Those were the only things. I think otherwise he's been pretty comprehensive and consistent.
A couple things. So when you got the trial information, obviously John and Kaylee came in, Dale Hurlin came in. I mean, no secret. Everybody came in and said, these two. Did you ever write to anybody other? You told your two gaming buddies, told John, you kind of beat around the bush, and then eventually told Zach. Other than anybody at school, do you tell anybody, I caught a body, I killed Mrs. Graber?
No.
You don't discuss it?
Well, there would have been, Elka Jaquez, I'm pretty sure is how her name's spelled. I think I made some offhand suggestive comments to her, but nothing as direct as I caught a body with a bat. No.
Okay. And we've got those comments.
Yeah. Was there ever a time when, okay, here's the handle of a baseball bat. Was there ever a time when it was held at the meat end and hit with the handle portion?
No.
No? Okay.
When you guys get the trial information and you figure out who's talked and said what and stuff like that, when you guys are down here at Montrose, do you ever have a conversation with Jaden about trying to get back at the people who talked? There's never been any vindictiveness?
I held a little bit of resentment towards John at the beginning, but nothing that I expressed to Chaden.
Okay. And Jaden's never said, I'm gonna get back?
He hasn't said I'm going to get back. I mean, but he definitely has expressed his distaste and disappointment towards, Dale and John.
Okay. At some point after Chayden kind of tells his 8-person cockamamie story that's unbelievable, believable, that's a bunch of crap. At some point at the very end of that, he says, it's all you. This is all Jeremy. Jeremy planned it. I'm just an innocent bystander. I was at the wrong place at the wrong moment. Is that accurate, inaccurate?
Couldn't be farther from the truth.
And how does that make you feel? That he's throwing you under the bus?
Disappointed more than anything. I mean, it's just hurt, betrayed. I don't know, the list goes on.
Not to somewhat summarize, it seems as if the way you describe it was that this was Chayden's issue with her. It was his motive against her. You were a loyal friend to him, there to help, and then wound up finishing the job. Can you think of any reason? And then just now you've completely denied that it was ever your intention to harm Miss Graber. You were there ultimately to finish the job, mercy killing, as you told your attorney. Can you think of any reason why somebody or some information might come to us that indicates otherwise? Like we talked about how you had her as a teacher last year. Could there possibly be anybody that comes to us and say like, hey, don't think that this is all on Chayden. Jeremy had beef with her too.
I had already taken 2 years of language classes. I'm pretty sure that's all that's required for colleges to get, scholarships and all that. I wasn't planning on taking any more classes with her. As far as I was concerned, she was like out of my life. Mm-hmm. So
what you're saying is that there is no information or evidence out there that's going to indicate that you yourself had a personal issue with her beyond your friend having a personal issue with her.
I might have said like she's not a good teacher, but that's pretty much the extent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's. I'm just about done here. Let's take a quick break. I'm going to use the restroom quick. We'll confer with the others and come back and finish up.
And I got water.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make sure to get one of those.
Thanks.
Do you want to flip off the switch?
Sure.
Or do you want to keep it running? I want to know
We can flip the switch
if it's
for
going to be
you.
on or off, basically.
We will flip the switch.
You guys good?
Yeah.
They're bringing
Yeah,
you some.
water for him, though.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
bringing,
Yeah,
they're bringing,
they're
he's
bringing
trying to
it.
get it.
Thank you.
I'm gonna turn this back on.
Did you flip that switch?
I did. I just flipped it on the way back in.
Okay, so we're going. A couple questions. So one of the things that we know that's missing is from Mrs. Graber's bag from the van is when she had meetings with students, she kept a journal, and it was like a multicolored notebook. And it had, I met with such and such on such and such date, we discussed this, met with their parents, we discussed this, met with the principal.
Come on in. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Must have thought you were thirsty.
So, that's missing.
It might have been contained in the small purse that we threw into the area around the van, but I wasn't looking for that. I don't know if it's something Chayden picked up or not.
Okay.
Did Chayden ever talk about being aware of such a journal? Of like, that's where she keeps her.
Never came up.
Okay.
And then when we discovered the body, the only high school kid to drive into the park, or the only person, period, to drive into the park other than the police or the people looking for Mrs. Graber, was McKenna Hine. She had
No contact with McKenna. I didn't have any contact with McKenna Hine for that whole week, pretty much. I spent that whole, from October 30th to like November 3rd was like spent entirely with John, Kaylee, and Zoe.
Okay.
Okay. Mindful.
Wait, sorry, that's a lie. McKenna did drive past me when I was sitting outside of the school. She did drive past me. She stopped and she asked me, like, hey, what are you doing? Need a ride? I said, no, I'm good. I'm just waiting on Chaden, I think I said. And then she kept driving towards...
Would that been with the bell tower when you're leaning on the bike?
Yeah, that would have been right there.
And then you see Mr. Hawks about the same time?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Understanding potential consequences of us having this conversation and how it could play into a future prosecution of yourself or Chaden, do you have any personal concerns about being housed in the same building or safety concerns with him or him getting word out to other people, like to try to harm you of any kind?
Well, I don't think he really has those kinds of connections.
Okay.
As far as I'm worried about him harming me, that's not really something I'm worried about.
Okay.
Although I kind of already told everyone there that I'm probably leaving, so I don't know if I blew cover on that one, but...
Right.
Because you're close to 18. We had
Yeah.
that discussion with you, so.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I mentioned this in the beginning, but any questions that we didn't ask that we should be asking, or people that we should be talking to, or anything of that nature to help make it make sense?
As far as what was said in Julie Kinsella's office when my dad asked for a place to privately discuss with me, he basically just asked me if I was involved, and I told him that I was. And he asked me if it was my plan or how the extent of my involvement, and I kind of just told him I kind of got dragged along into it, and that Chaden's plan, all his stuff, his bat, he brought all the equipment. He even gave me the gloves that I mentioned that I wore. Those were his gloves that he gave me. And I kind of just told him that I killed Miss Graber as like a mercy killing, essentially, is what I told him.
And so what you're saying is that what you told your dad in just a few minutes in Julie's office is consistent with the information, although not as thorough, of what we talked about today.
Correct.
Same story. Okay. All right. And to the best of your knowledge, given what we've just talked about for the last 2 hours, if needs be, would you be willing to raise your right hand, swear that this is the God's honest truth under oath? This is the version of what happened, the one and only version of truthfully what happened.
I would.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for us at this point?
No questions.
Okay. Well, I think I'm done.
Did you want to add that?
I can address the one thing. Well, I think he got that clear, but, and again, from Jeremy, of the things that were involved, the only thing you brought was yourself. Everything else, the gloves, the bat, the bag of water, the pocket knife, the screwdriver, the hammer, all of that, the wheelbarrow, all of that stuff came from Chaden. There was nothing you brought from the house. There was nothing that you bought for the purpose of carrying this out.
Correct.
Okay.
Except for, actually, well, I think I did mention it, should be on the record, but I put a shovel from home into the wheelbarrow
Yeah.
and moved it, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with it, you seem like an articulate, thoughtful kid. Like, at any point did you, I mean, granted, maybe you didn't think until he swung that bat that he was for real, but at any point did you think, like, fuck this, dude? Like, don't do this?
I'm going to be honest, I was kind of just going along with him at the time. I wasn't, I mean, it could have all been avoided if he had just stayed right there on that access trail and never stepped out of there, but
Yeah.
it obviously didn't happen.
Did you ever think about talking him down? Like, dude, it's a...
That thought crossed my mind, but I don't know. Once again, that whole image of not wanting to be a pussy
Right.
was kind of influential for me at the time.
I see. Okay. All right, well, that's all I
I
have.
think
so.
the important thing for me, Jerry, that I want to add is Chaden brought all of this stuff to the park initially. Did you know he was bringing that with?
I was pretty sure he was going to bring a bat.
Anything else,
The rest was just,
what you went along with?
yeah.
Okay. All right.
You're aware, because we've received things through discovery, and there was a question about it, I don't know that that was kind of fleshed out, but one of the items of evidence that the state located, I think on Chaden's computer, was sort of like a makeshift plan that it seemed like he was trying to be coy about what it was about, but was really very on point with what had happened. You weren't involved in any of that.
No.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I think we're all finished up. We'll hit the switch on the way out, and when you guys are finished with him, then we can kind of coordinate wherever he needs to go. So we won't be with you. Thanks.
They've
Thank
got
you.
a pizza coming for him.
Perfect,
Okay.
thank you so
In
much.
special circumstances, good luck. Okay.
Thanks. Take care.
Good luck, Jeremy.
Up to now, Couch Detectives have not taken on any sponsors. That being said, to those detectives that have gone above and beyond to support the channel, you are truly appreciated. For the rest of you, consider a 7-day trial on Patreon. We have lots of extras and exclusive content. We also give you early access to most of our content. Scan this QR code or follow the link in the description below. We also have a weekly podcast for those of you that listen on the go. Scan this QR code or find the podcast link in the description as well. Okay, let's get back to it. Both Miller and Goodale initially pleaded not guilty to the crime, with Miller even telling detectives that he was forced by her real killers to help them hide her body and drive her van. To see how that went, make sure you watch Chaden Miller's interrogation, linked below. It wasn't until roughly a year after the murder that investigators released the likely motive. Willard Chaden Miller was so upset about Nohema Graber giving him a bad grade in her class that he hatched a plot to kill her. That is all. It affected his grade point average, and he felt he had to take matters into his own hands. Jeremy Goodale just went along for the ride. In the spring of 2023, both Willard Miller and Jeremy Goodale pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. And in July of 2023, Willard Miller was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 35 years.
And ultimately, while acknowledging your youth and developing brain, I find that your intent and actions were sinister and evil. Those acts resulted in the intentional loss of human life in a brutal fashion. There's no excuse. There is not a systemic societal problem that explains or justifies your actions. The court finds, based on the nature and circumstances of this offense, along with the required 25 factors that I am to consider in sentencing a juvenile in the state of Iowa for murder in the first degree, that the defendant, Willard Noble Chaden Miller, should be sentenced to life with the possibility of parole after 35 years. This sentence is permissible under the Iowa law. A 35-year mandatory minimum is not cruel and unusual punishment for the defendant, as it represents the appropriate time of incarceration for the defendant in Mr. Goodale's premeditated murder.
He immediately appealed this verdict. In November of 2023, Jeremy Goodale was sentenced to life in prison without parole for 25 years.
Court finds, based on the nature and circumstances of this offense, along with the 25 required factors I'm required to consider in sentencing a juvenile for first-degree murder, the defendants shall be sentenced to life with the possibility of parole after 25 years. This sentence is permissible under current Iowa law.
Iowa state law does not permit juveniles to be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And both of them being 17 at the time of sentencing, that worked in their favor. Willard Miller is appealing his life sentence, and I can only imagine Jeremy Goodale will do the same. Thank you so much for watching. We have a lot of cases in the works, many of which you have never seen, so make sure you're subscribed. And we will see you in the next one.